Welcome to another Q&A episode of Podcast Toten. My name's Rad.
Matt.
Hello, I'm Dick.
Good evening, it's Nabber's Honor.
We're going to answer some more questions from our Twitter thread, I guess that's what they're called. So, first one we're going to talk about today is from Rich Killer, a friend of the show and a fellow Codzer. He says he's got two questions. An easy question. The easy question is, who is M? It's probably Monty, right?
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
The main. Oh yeah, it's Marlton. Yeah. The main. It's all Marlton. It's always been It was always Marlton. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Main evidence is from Classified. There's like the 4M who put me on this journey, and then Schuster says there was he doesn't know anyone going by M in Route 935. So the only other real big M is Marlton. So. Yeah.
And he would have known Maxis without. I mean, he's not saying there was no Maxis for anyone who wants to count that out. I mean, if you recall, he
right. Well, because Maxis went by X.
Oh, is it really?
Oh.
Well, no, okay, we're not gonna talk about that right now.
Okay, we'll not go there. All right.
This is
no
yeah,
tangents.
No.
Hard
right,
question.
it could be. No. I don't know. You know,
Okay.
it could be like
Okay.
Mr. T Lexify, Mr.
Yeah.
Waffle.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. What else?
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I don't know. All possible. But anyways, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no, it's worth a. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Or Matt.
Yeah,
Matt's.
Matt.
It's definitely Matt's. That's
Matt,
the
you have
final
something to tell
answer.
us? Okay, hard question. What did Primus Richtofen pick up in the giant intro? So this is whenever after he shoots Richtofen, Dempsey's like, "Damn it, Richtofen!" and then he leans down and he picks up something off the body. And then Dempsey later points that out.
So, you gonna tell me what the fuck you were doing back there?
Dempsey, my dear, simple-minded American. You simply wouldn't understand.
Right after we got here, after you said goodbye to your evil twin, you did something strange.
Strange? Ha! Dempsey, you're really going to have to narrow it down.
I know you're sick, Richtofen, but why were you messing around with your own corpse?
That wasn't my body. That was someone else entirely. Someone a bit like me, but not. He's dead.
Hey, I know what I saw. I saw you stoop down and hold something against the body.
Pictures, Dempsey, pictures. Or it didn't happen.
So what did he pick up?
Is this also when you supposedly hear like the sound of the summoning key, where like you think he's stealing Richtofen's soul? Like this is right the same action, right?
Yeah, people thought this was like the soul. Like that was the assumption at first that it was like the soul he was picking up.
Yeah.
But then you later you find out actually he got it from Dimension 2210, and it's like
I thought
kind
you
of
hear
dark
the
story.
sound though, right? Like I thought you hear the sound like the summoning key. Like,
I think-
I don't know.
Before that,
maybe I could be wrong.
yeah. Well, before that, we actually surmised that he wouldn't be his soul because we saw the animation of what it looked like when you actually collect a soul, and there was no such thing at the giant. Yeah, and I think one of the earlier theories was that Richtofen didn't actually know where his soul was, and he was trying every body he killed in search of it.
He was trying to, but it just wasn't working.
It wasn't working. But anyway, so yeah, but we ended up finding out that wasn't the case, and so there is. The question is good. The question still stands. What is it that he's trying to pick up?
Did he actually pick something up, or was it just an act to make it seem like he was doing that whenever they later found out what the plant was? So they didn't question where it actually came from, because it seems like he didn't want to talk about that. Like he didn't ever tell anyone that story about Dimension 2210 until the campfire.
Does anyone know here for sure? Because I honestly have no clue. What did he pick up?
Yeah, no. I mean, the theory that I didn't know at the time and might be true is that I was looking for a radio which he would use to talk to Groff and Dreisendrach, because like they communicate over the radio.
What if he just does it to fake them? To fake him, everyone else that they don't know they got that till like you said the end. So he just that's what you pick up, and you'll find out over the next 3 maps. What you'll all have to do.
Maybe I don't know.
I think that I like the radio theory. That's pretty solid. I'd never heard that before, but I mean, absolutely, that's the next thing you hear in the map. Map 2 starts up. Voila.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it was deliberate. So.
I feel like Rich might be hinting that he has any ideas. So Rich,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Sure.
Or he's looking for that lever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take us away,
How does it
Rad.
go?
Oh, no.
Before we go deeper here.
That's not a lever. Richtofen. Okay, next question from Mukhtar166. Will Zombies Chronicles 2 actually come back, or it's just a theory?
So I think what the main. So okay, we had a conversation about this. I think Matt and Rad before we got on the pod, just about interesting discussions on like the meta aspects of zombies, on like what the devs are actually doing and not like what's in the game itself, so to speak. So I think what the main understanding that I have is they've made some of these assets to put inside like Blackout and maybe some multiplayer maps. The main one I've heard is Blackout. And so they have they've got Black Ops 4 versions of the files. They just do light, retouch remasters like they did for, BO4 essentially, and Chronicles 2 is essentially already made. Is there other stuff? I've heard that on the COD's Discord.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. It's like they got pulled from development pretty kind of in the middle of when that would come out, so things got cut. But we should also clarify, we don't, in case someone is confused, we don't, because the way it's worded might be they think we are associated with CODs, which is an issue with the Twitter. I think we should address this. We are not affiliated with Treyarch. We don't make the game. We're just a fan. We're a forum. Well, okay, COD's official is the official Twitter of Call of Duty Zombies forum. So
CallOfDutyZombies.com, which I might add is the oldest zombies community in existence, having been founded in 2009, right after the release of Verrucht.
Right.
But are we officially unofficial or unofficially official? Official.
Oh God.
I don't know.
Both.
What? Yeah, that clears that up. And I mean, Chronicles 2. Well, I guess we've kind of cleared up. It's just kind of a theory that it might come, but do you want it to?
Yeah, that's where I was gonna take it. What do you? All right, Hunter. I most know. One of the things that I find most interesting about you and I's, relationship is you having started in Black Ops 2, which is as I began to fall off, and so I'm interested in what would you like to see a Chronicles 2 with Black Ops 2. That's what Zombies Chronicles 2 means, right? Is like Black Ops 2, or is it like? Are they assuming?
I would say as far as the argument that it's coming, I mean, I would add to the argument that the assets are built and everything that kind of plays into my answer to that is that I mean, I've heard more recently from some other reliable sources that it is indeed in the works, and there are reasons for that we can get into in a moment. But as usual, also TGR has mentioned it as well. So it seems to be either floating around, but it's an old rumor. But as far as whether I want to see it, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that I'm not a fan of Transit very much personally myself. I respect anyone who does enjoy it because I mean that takes some grit to really enjoy that map. And if you say you do, I believe you do. Because it's not hard to admit that you don't. But I think that not only on Xbox One as a generation console, but Xbox One X. I mean, I think this has all the capability that you ever could have dreamed of for a map of that caliber. I think it can be expanded. I think that the story. Well, I mean, here's one thing that I would love to see, and people were saying, oh, I don't want to see just a remake again. There was a certain pocket of the community. I think it was a loud minority, a certain pocket of the community that was really displeased with the quote unquote remakes from Black Ops 4, which, to be clear, were revisits, not remakes, because they were actually structurally and in terms of story unique. I think that a new revisit is in order because we know that there was a cleanup job that went on at the help me out here, the green one. What was it called? What was the town called?
Oh, Hanford.
Yeah, the Hanford site. The Hanford site. It was definitely got a cleanup after that, or at some point. I think a revisit to that location to kind of see that, maybe play as the CDC. And Broken Arrow.
About that on CODs recently.
Right.
What about Hanford Manhattan Project and Perseus, all that stuff. So it might actually play
No,
into
that's the
Oh
whole.
man.
That's what I
Absolutely.
think is the best part. Is right. Like we've talked about with Perseus being supposedly at Los Alamos, part of 3 or 4
Oh.
spies that take credentials and information from the Manhattan Project itself that helped the Soviets get the bomb. Within a couple years of the United States, like that. That would be. I think that'd be so fun to get inside. And with the whole new Broken Arrow angle, which
Hmm.
I know we've had some episodes here on CODs, and we're gonna have some more future ones. Just I'm so into this Cold War era, which I
It's
know will be a later question as well. But I'm loving where they could go with this.
Well, it's the perfect angle to take too, because ether is quote unquote over, right, according to the statements. But I think that's been taken a little bit too literally to say that we're not going to revisit the ether universe, not even to say the ether multiverse, but the ether universe, which has always included. I mean, we played as the CDC and the CIA in Black Ops 2, so to revisit that is not to go back to Primus, Ultimis, or Victus. It's to revisit the same universe, but from an entirely different perspective, which I think is well overdue.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity really here to throw back to one of the earliest references to technology in zombies, which was in Shinonuma, the mention of HARP, HAARP,
Yes.
an environmental manipulation program, according to conspiracy theories, which, the mess that was the Hanford site. I mean, you're going to need a major environmental cleanup project. Bring back Hanford, bring back that mess, insert, these black operatives and these different organizations that need to get involved, and use HARP, clean up the Hanford site, and let us visit
Ooh.
that. That's what I think
Ooh.
we need in Black Ops Cold War.
One of the next question from Archer Crash: where do you hope Zombies goes for Cold War characters? Maybe you'd like to. So I wanna continue on that. Rad, you were gonna start talking. What do you wanna? How would you like to continue?
I was just gonna ask, do you think this is a monkey's paw situation, like Matt is talked about, where it's like you get these Chronicles 2 remakes, but they answer questions that are best left unanswered, or like the answers to certain questions are unsatisfying? Because I feel like that's a common complaint from like the old guard and Black Ops 3, and like especially with the timeline. So how would you feel about that?
Is that directed at me or Tack? Because I feel like we're
Just
both pretty strongly opinionated in those
yeah,
areas.
pretty much both of you, because you're both kind of old guard CODs, and I know
I've been
you're both
talking.
opinionated about that, about Black Ops 3, so I'm curious.
I've been talking quite a bit. Tack, what do you think about that?
Restate the question. Sorry.
So like, how do you think this? Would you feel? I guess would you not want it less if they were going to answer some questions that are better left unanswered? Like
Oh,
little details that like are more fun to theorize than would actually be, get an answer for.
yeah, that's an interesting. So there's some like we talked about before. Shinonuma. That's a real fun one to leave out hanging open. Like I don't know that I'd want them to come back to Shinonuma, but I would love, like Hunter said, I really would love for this to. What I wanted from the beginning was it to really stick in the Ether universe itself, and whether it became difficult obviously as it goes on to you can't just make maps that are interesting and fill in some lore, but like don't really advance and progress the overall story in some way. So in some ways I get why they don't want to just go back and fill in some fun gaps from the past, but that's
Mhm.
really what I want to see is Ether universe. Doesn't have to be any of the characters we know, but just the same general. I don't just Nazis,
Okay.
aliens, historical. I want to take that. I mean, I guess maybe not Nazis. It's we're into the Cold War. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe start shifting it to the Russians and I don't know, who knows, eventually
Oh,
the
yeah.
Chinese. I don't know, do whatever you want, but
So I guess this is another question. Well, based on that guy's what's his name, Archer Crash's question. So in terms of characters, do you think this is going to be? Are we going to play as characters we know that are kind of in the background if this is Ether, or is it going to be like completely new characters, or is it going to be campaign characters?
Well, I mean, and to carry on just a little bit to add to Tack's answer, but also to answer that is, as far as you mentioned like not overtly answering the Shinonuma, reference to HARP. I think you just throw in HARP into the equation in a sort of cryptic way where it just spawns more theories. It doesn't say, oh yeah, the reference to Harp at Shinonuma was this. No, just make another mention of it, just like boom, and we would go where you go, oh whoa, there's Harp again. Who brought that up? And that would actually tie in, the Cold War and all them. And so yeah, I think that introduces those new characters you're talking about just very easily, because like Tax says, bringing back the aliens or the Nazis or the communists and the USSR and the CIA kind of it. I feel like Harp is actually a pretty good example of a thing that kind of brings all those things together, because we have references during it, Shinonuma to it. We have the issue of the bees at Deriza, and whether that's related to Harp. This is my theory brain going off. You could start. I remember as a kid hearing about Harp outside of zombies and people talking about the effect it had on the bees. And so just making a mention of it during the time of the Hanford experiments, and us heading into the Cold War, I think this brings that rich history of the past and conspiracy theories into the Black Ops Cold War present, where you have, the parties at odds are no longer Nazis. They're no longer Ultimis, Victus, or Primus. This is the Cold War, and I think that there's no other way to do it really properly without introducing new characters.
I think it would also be a nice bridge to the campaign if, like, you do involve Perseus and maybe like whoever or whatever is Perseus is somehow tied to the Ascension group. So not only are they pulling stuff from like the Manhattan Project, but also pulling stuff from like 115 experiments. It would be a nice kind of way to tie the knot between the two stories.
Yeah,
That's true.
I agree.
That's true. All right, so we can keep these next two short. We've been continuing this theme, but the next two I would like to pose in the same vein to you guys is one's from some random person guy saying, when do you think COD Zombies lost its essence and what was the best era? And then Rodrigo O2CP, should Treyarch continue the Chaos story? So I will give my brief answer here. When COD's lost its essence, I don't know. I'm too scared to answer that question. I'm not even gonna lie. That's there's so many opinions in the zombies community that's like you just never gave anything outside Ether a chance. So that's I'm not gonna. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me personally, it was the Origins ending on Black Ops 2 was I don't know, and then the
I love
beginning of
that
Black
answer.
Ops 3. That combination of the end of BO2 to the start of BO3 just like mind fucked me, and I lost it. I was out at that point.
One
so
to the
that
head,
was-
one to the chest.
Yeah,
Hear it
Yeah,
in a
that
Richtofen
would-
voice.
yeah, that was it for me. And then should they continue Chaos? I think they should do whatever they would like. For me personally, Zombies has always been, and especially Treyarch Zombies has always been Ether. So I'm never gonna, I'm never gonna like dislike a Chaos story or other stories like that. But it's just always been Ether to me. So that's they can continue it if they'd like, but I don't know. Ether's home for me.
Agreed. I think I guess I know I've been talking a lot, but gonna fill in this gap here. Just I think where did it lose its luster, to use a synonym, I guess? I would agree, Tag. I mean that. Whereas I was still really into it post BO2, I had started at BO2, like you pointed out earlier, and then transitioned suddenly, thanks to iOS, back to World at War. So in a way, I'm a World at War guy, even though my first time, picking up a controller was on Black Ops 2. There wasn't a whole lot of lore involved there. For me, the lore started when I jumped back, and I realized, oh my God, there's so much more to this. So, I was kind of still catching up by the time Origins even came out, and I was like, oh, Origins, like, what is even... So I was not up to speed in everything that happened in BO2. So by the time I finally got there, yeah, it was like this... The theory that it was all a game was almost crushing. It was like, oh, God, but this is so deep. I don't want it to be a game or a dream or any of those tropes. So there was a certain amount of luster lost there. I think Shadows of Evil was another one. I didn't yet understand the significance, and we can talk about this, probably in another podcast with another question that was asked. But I didn't understand the value of the Apothicons and the Keepers yet.
Yeah.
I think I do now, and I actually kind of love the topic. But at the time, not knowing enough and just being like, "Whoa, this does not feel like Ether anymore," that was crushing. But for anyone who's asking, I will boldly state, if anyone is referring to BO4 as the point at which Ether lost its luster, no, for me, just me personally, and a few others I know, BO4 is what gave me hope again. I
Absolutely.
felt, yeah, I mean, I think you and I, Tack, especially, were talking about how it felt more like
Yeah,
BO1 than anything.
Yeah, I wish I'd been able to keep up on it so much, but yeah, between I just classified Alpha Omega. There was so many just old throwbacks.
It
But
was
all
just
right,
a dunk into those things.
us
Yeah.
old guard have been talking too much.
have.
Matt, Brad, what hit us with your
Deal.
thoughts on
Yeah,
do you think COD Zombies ever lost its essence? What do you think?
Matt, you can go ahead first.
It's sort of weird because I kind of follow the same timeline that you guys do. I would say Black Ops 2. And now I don't know if it was just because, as the game was aging and there's more story development, more questions got answered, but it felt like a lot of the mystery behind Call of Duty Zombies. I don't know. I think like the focus on the Easter eggs and the overarching story, like there was something about exploring the maps and finding the different radios and finding the scattered pieces of paper that you then kind of piece together a whole story. Like I felt like that kind of declined in Black Ops 2, where most of the story was told through the Easter egg. And I think even following up to Black Ops 2, like the lack of viral marketing, that was, I think, the first major component. Was it just felt like that mystery and kind of wasn't there. I think the second part was I really liked the story of Ultimis, and I felt like I kind of went through the whole game trying to figure out like, well, what's Ultimis' story? What's going to happen? So there was a big disconnect for me with Black Ops 2. I mean, I liked Origins and Mob of the Dead and stuff, but yeah, then tying into the Origins ending was a little strange. Like, was it like some metaphorical like representation of how like at first I thought it was like maybe it's Samantha and this is how she views the world when she's like in control, but
Dude, and the fact I'm just gonna interrupt slightly and you
yeah,
can take over again, but I never stopped thinking of the Black Ops 1 terminal with the Dreamland server. I
yes,
just was like, you're kidding me. Like
Right.
it's a fucking
yeah.
dream. Are you kidding? Like I couldn't do it.
Yeah, and like I liked Black Ops 3 and 4. 4, I will agree, there was so much to 4 that really felt like the classified intro. Oh, it really felt like the true sequel to Black Ops. I just think because of development time and everything, that because it got moved, that's sort of where this lackluster feeling comes from. So I kind of share both uh, kind of angles of sentiment where it's like I loved Alpha Omega and Classified, but yeah, the way it kind of ended was a little lackluster. Um, I think with 3, at least my kind of departing feeling about that was with the Keepers and the Apothicons, it kind of was like another layer of separating themselves from like history and conspiracy, where there was more kind of making up their own mythos rather than sort of pulling it directly
Right.
from the kind of like the conspiracy theories. Even though it's a thinly veiled reference to the Vrilya and everything, but I don't know, there was something about that. Like Black Ops 2, the lack of mystery, and Black Ops 3, it felt like they kind of were pulling away from all the crazy source material that like you could almost just read a book on conspiracy theories and be just as knowledgeable in the Call of Duty storyline without even picking it up. Where like now it's kind of they added their
Right.
own flavors. So that's what I
Right,
would
they
say.
really made it their own story. Which that's where it's like I don't know whether I can't fault them for it, but it just means I can no longer look up some history and
Yeah.
really get a good idea of like where they might, and have some like fun theories. Like it's, like this is where it feels like what we talked about, where the community could really create part of the story because they knew so much of the history with them. But now it's like when Treyarch's just, I don't want to say dictating the story, but they're just
More or
making it
less
on
felt
their
that
own.
way.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
like
I
I
just
have
like
nothing to do anymore. I can't theorize.
I just love the idea that like it almost felt like it could have been real just because they were taking all these incidents and things and putting a tiny spin on it, a big spin with zombies, but but then
Yeah.
when they kind of made their own thing, like you said, yeah, it's hard to look it up, but that segues into chaos, and that's kind of why I feel like they should continue with chaos, because there were a lot of story elements and direction that I think chaos started to get, that ether kind of departed from. And I feel like it's nice to have those elements, like the idea of like an Atlantis map or
You
something
can
like that,
draw
or
that
somewhere set in, yeah,
external material again that you're referencing back to. I'm not a fan, but yeah, I can
yeah,
see that. I like where you're. And can I say you're probably the most consistent person I've talked to in the zombies community. You have been saying this since mid Black Ops 4 when you and I were talking. This same mantra. You stick to your guns, my man.
Thank you.
All right, Rad, wrap us up on this thought. What do you think?
I guess it depends on what you think essence means. I think in terms of gameplay, essence has like the game has transformed so many times, it's almost unrecognizable. Just as a game, I think Black Ops 2 is probably like the biggest like tonal shift in terms of gameplay. But in terms of story, I don't know that it ever lost its essence for me. There's always been a time where I like to discuss zombies, like no matter what, and all the gaps in all the different games. Even when the method of like talking about is different, when it's not, it's no longer about like you said, learning the history. It's more about like kind of the narrative and like the deep lore of like the Apothicons or whatever. I mean, I think it's always been fun for me. So to me, it never lost its sense, its essence. And as for the chaos, I think I would want it to continue, even if it would mean the end of talking about zombies on a podcast because I don't know enough about it. It would be, I think, I think artistically they would be better off doing something new. So yeah, I'm into that.
Okay. All right. I feel that.
So,
All right. Well, then take us to the next question, whatever you choose.
okay. Well, okay. From Crybaby Spider, where did Samantha and the three go after the Earth was destroyed?
Oh, that's a pretty easy, straightforward one, I think.
Mhm.
All right, then answer it.
Yeah.
I was looking for someone who's maybe a little more versed in the more recent activity, but
All right, you can give the structure and let someone else fill in the detail.
there we go. Okay, so
Right.
I'll give you what I know. Is we know that the four, ended up at classified, and they were picked up by the, the crew there, the Americans there, and then put in a holding cell. At which point in time, one of the guards reported, and actually this is a perfect time to pull in some footage from TZ Ghosts, who is an incredible zombies creator, and he actually put this scene together. So we'll toss it in the podcast here. That actually illustrates that moment in a just incredible way. So if you haven't seen this yet, pop over to his channel and watch this full thing with the audio and everything, the original radio describing this scene. So we know the four of them, they left a moon. Samantha was, again, I suppose, exported from Richtofen's body, and I'll let y'all explain further how that worked.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when Richtofen arrived, from Moon again, his body was comatose until the developments of this scene that TZ Ghost rendered, and his zombified body, presumably from buried, if I recall, if I understand correctly, and no other things have gone awry since then, walks up, touches it, and actually transfers his soul back into his own body, almost in an odd reversal of the Moon Easter egg.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty on point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Samantha was the timeline says she was plucked out of Richtofen's body and ended up in the ether, and that's why Max is trying to get her out of there. And
So
when
is
he failed to do
Max's.
that, she went to Origins. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
actually, I don't know if yeah, it might be yeah, but why they might also be asking, what happens after that? Like in terms of the normal cycle. Like if Primus does not show up to save them, what happens then? Because I wouldn't think Richtofen would just take it sitting down, just sit there and waste away.
You mean his body?
Well, I mean, like when they're in that cell, imagine Primus doesn't show up, then what?
The original.
I actually have a theory that actually kind of it just sparked in my head just now. So if Richtofen is still in the MPD when you're playing Buried, and you follow his quest essentially as Victus, eventually you're going to end up in Stuhlinger's body, and basically,
Yeah, that's in the Richtofen.
and Stuhlinger's going to be eating a lot more salads. So
Right.
at some point, you might think that let's say this happened. Let's just follow that train of thought. So his body's in a holding cell somewhere, and Richtofen's a little bit self-conscious. I love the way that you approached it, Rad, in your story, which Rad is writing an incredible story that has been working on for years, in which he describes Richtofen's sort of self-awareness in terms of his looks. So I wonder if Richtofen kind of has a sort of narcissism about his own body where he wouldn't let that just waste away. So maybe he eventually takes Victus to the location that his body is at that time to transfer his own soul back into his own body. The twisted opposite of that being when Maxis inserts him into a zombie. So we have two possible outcomes there.
See, I kind of thought similarly. I feel like, I mean, I guess it could be possible that maybe because it's his body, he's able to transfer it back easily. Um, but I feel like with the Richtofen ending, it almost seemed like he was just sort of stuck in Stuhlinger's head and he couldn't escape. Where in the Maxis ending, he was jumping from body to body. So it would imply, at least in one cycle, Richtofen's catatonic body does decay. But I always kind of like the idea that Richtofen's body decays when it goes back in time, and then in the Maxis ending, eventually Richtofen, sort of like what you're saying, makes his way back to his original body, but it's decayed. And then I guess in a weird paradoxical thing, goes back in time before that, you know what I mean, with the decayed body, and then transfers back to before it decays. Um, but yeah, because I think the Maxis ending is the canon one, right? Where the Richtofen one is kind of like
Oh
it's.
my, you're opening a whole other can of worms, my
I
friend.
thought it was supposed to be. I mean, I think the
I think
Richtofen ending
so.
happened in another universe. Yeah, I feel like it still happened, but
The
at
canon
least
that we know.
the canon that we know, which is why I feel like it's probably it just jumped from body to body, and then by that time, Richtofen was a zombie or a decaying corpse.
Sure.
Yarp. Yarp. Yeah, lots of good talk about that. So two more questions. Well, this one's kind of a three-parter from a funny guy B. He says, one, when will the podcast be? Right now. Well, it's coming out, every Monday. We do podcast every Monday, so tune in for that. We'll do this, this three-parter, all the questions from this particular Twitter post. We'll do this every week until it's done. And then in the future, we'll probably do some more Q&As because this is pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So two, how can I listen to it? Well, you listen to it right now. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, on the YouTube. We're working on the whole Apple thing, but not that hard.
Yeah. We'll see. And three, who created the Space Monkeys?
So,
Oh my.
all right. So I first read this, and in my, of course, Shang-like brain, think of Shang and those space monkeys, but I was corrected in that this probably means Ascension. So I will. What do y'all thinking for the Ascension monkeys with
I
their
just
little
wanted to
cute
say,
spacesuits?
I mean,
I guess.
go
I was
ahead,
gonna say,
Mats. I've been talking a lot.
just a simple point, like pun intended though, but I feel like this is sort of the example of the monkeys Paul Rad was talking about questions being answered, and that it seems to be the creation of the monkeys are related to Apothicon blood, which I just feel is really strange and kind of
Right,
something
yeah.
that
We can
didn't
put
really need. Yeah,
we can put that Tog radio up right now. So yeah, like you were probably about to say was continue. Sorry. Yeah.
no, I mean that's pretty much it. Just if we're listening to the radio, then it'll do a better job. But I just felt it was strange that with the hellhounds and all those other things, it wasn't that much of a stretch to assume that the monkeys were just resurrected. I mean, unless there's something different about like I hope the Shang monkeys are just normal zombified monkeys. And maybe the fact that they're being the ones in Ascension are being sent to space, like they had the I don't know the Apothicon blood to like help survive in like zero gravity or something weird like that. Because it's just a really weird and kind of convoluted explanation for something that I didn't really think would need one.
They
So
got the red eyes, I
yeah, I
guess.
mean the red eyes, but
Well, the whole thing, I think. Well, okay. The thing with the Apothicon blood, what it does to them is it makes them like, very like they're tough. They have tough skin or whatever. They can, I guess, infinitely regenerate like after injuries. It just makes them very angry, which is, I guess, an explanation for why they keep coming back.
and I guess it's like I guess that would kind of ties into the idea maybe they would survive in a
Right, and they would,
hostile environment.
and they would hit the ground and still be fine. But
I also think PhD Flopper contains Apothicon blood. That's
yeah, because that ties into like the theory that that's what Flopper was for. It was like to, help with the impact, like when you hit the ground from space or whatever.
So that's why it's chewy, huh?
Oh, I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah, man.
Oh
Oh, I
no.
thought
Ugh.
Double Tap was chewy.
Oh, is that right? I guess I'm thinking of the fact that it tastes
Tips
like
was-
prunes.
Oh yeah, prunes. Yeah,
Okay,
Taki likes it.
that's
Yeah.
right.
And
Oh,
Samantha liked
my.
it too, I think. But
That's
anyway.
interesting. All right. So lightly now, to indulge me, let's talk about the Shang monkeys.
All right.
What? All right. They drop some power
Where
ups.
did you
They
come
take
from?
a
Where did you
rocket.
go?
Yeah. What do you?
Where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Mhm, mhm.
Yep. Okay,
What you
continue.
thinking? I don't know. They're just cute. What do you think?
As far as the
I
Shang
hope they're
monkeys
just
being an
normal.
origin for
Who created the Shang monkeys?
who created the
What,
Shang monkeys?
why do they, or who trained them? Why do they why do they get on a rocket?
So, I mean, shoot, who created the Shang monkeys? Well, he says who created this. He asked who created the space monkeys, but I think that's a whole
They
nother.
go to space.
They do go
These
to
Shang
space.
monkeys go to space.
That's a very good point. I think I had a thought, and this I may need to cut this segment out because if I sound like a total idiot, but um, shoot, I think potential origin for the Ascension monkeys, and I like what you said there, Matt. The idea of it being a monkey's paw, maybe something that shouldn't ever be fully explained. But like, if we were going to go out on a theory limb, maybe not something that ever gets formally explained, was that there are some indications of the Russians having been at Shangri-La, or at least something, because we have the landers there. So is it possible that the Shangri-La area, or even somewhere in the Himalayas? Shut up, Tack. I know Mars popped into your brain in that moment. But somewhere in the Himalayan area may have been where the Soviets were collecting their monkeys for these tests. And so I don't know if maybe the testing was actually done, training or something of that sort was done in Shangri-La, or maybe if there are rockets, test rockets in that area, or who knows what, or even if they fly from Shangri-La to Ascension. At any rate, I think there is just some evidence that we have Soviet activity at Shangri-La, and that those two things can possibly, not guarantee, but possibly be tied together.
I feel like as long as the Shang monkeys are still just zombified monkeys, and then they, either in the zombified form or just in their normal living form, were taken to, the Ascension sites and then injected with the Apothicon blood. I think I could rest knowing that at least there's just normal zombie monkeys that were created by Element 115 and not by weird Apothicon blood.
Which one would you rather have as a pet? That's my last question.
I think the one that's probably
The one that
they're
doesn't
both
steal
kind of
my
aggressive.
fucking. One of them steals perks, one of them steals power ups. I guess which do you
And one of
value
them
more?
ground slams in a really annoying
One
way.
giveth and one taketh.
True. That guy's gonna ruin my counter.
Yeah, one of them throws grenades back at you. Well, one of them
So
you can blow up with the shrink ray. There's pros and cons.
I think I'd take the Shang monkey, honestly.
Yeah,
The Shang.
yeah, you're right.
I think it's stage 1.
You know what? That actually was another thought I had, is perhaps the Shang monkeys were a failed attempt. Because they are actually a different kind of monkey than the ones at Ascension.
Right.
Yo, okay, question.
Yeah, I think the Rhesus monkey, the one in Ascension or whatever.
What if they're
They're the ones
connected to
used
the
for
Nova
testing.
program? Because don't we have?
Capuchin.
Aren't there like Nova document? They send barrels across different temperatures, and I'm thinking Call the Dead, maybe some Shang, and they've got I mean whatever's in the Kino barrel, I don't know. It's probably not a monkey, but I'm gonna call it a monkey. And so I don't know.
You know what? You can do that. You can do that.
As long as
think
you're
about
not
it.
calling it aliens, because that one was dense.
Well, I mean, now it's kind of a semantic thing with like crawlers and keepers and but
Crawl
it's never
keepers.
been
Let me go on a rant about that.
Oh, no.
They're supposed to be the rhesus monkeys, right? The ones that are always used for medical
Yeah,
testing.
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces, yeah, the Reese's Pieces.
Yeah,
Reese's
Oh,
Pieces
yeah.
after I'm
Dude,
done with them.
We need to.
I saw a guy with that gamer tag playing Halo Reach a long time ago. I was like, that's the best gamer tag I've ever seen.
That's a good one.
But anyway, hope that guy is listening.
Yep.
Last question, I think possibly my favorite question, from Eeyore, from Winnie the Pooh. He says, yes. When are you going to open up the Ascension map? It's overdue. 6 players could cover a bigger layout. # COD Zombies.
Do you disagree?
Well,
I just
You
remember
do?
looking out in Ascension and seeing the rubble and all that stuff, and like how the truck's blocking the. There's so much potential for a much larger and more fun map that involves maybe a boss fight with the Cosmic Silverback. So yes, that's
but
what I'm.
Matt, when are we going to open it up?
Yeah,
I think it's about time we give them what they want.
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
as COD's
Let's,
official.
we're
We
dropping
didn't
an
have the
update next week.
technology.
There you go.
We didn't have the technology before, but now I think we're there. With the Xbox One X and PlayStation
Yeah,
5, I
yeah.
think they're
You know,
We are
technology's
confirming now.
getting there.
We're opening up the section where you throw the Gersh device out of the map. That whole section is becoming open.
It will become available with like 4 additional training locations for 6 additional players.
including
Right,
Bus Route
exactly.
That's
You
right,
know, it's
yeah.
like
No-
you said, it's overdue. Like
But
it's
no
I mean,
other
come on.
map gets 6 players. It's
We've
just
been
gonna be
lazy for the past 10 years when we could have been doing this.
It's a
Right?
little known fact that Ascension was supposed to be the first 6-player map.
No, that is little known.
That was in the drawing
is true.
stages.
That is
That
true.
we-
Yeah, that is. You're leaking real information right there.
I have a
I
I have
have
a
to-
final question in response to that. When are we going to open up 5?
You're not supposed
And
to
make
talk
it
about
6.
that.
Just
Well,
turn it to 6.
I named 5.
Yeah, that's classified, dude.
Oh, nice answer.
The hexagon.
Oh no.
Oh
Well.
man.
DEFCON 6. Yeah, okay. The secret DEFCON.
Oh my
6.
god.
Anyway, thank you, Eeyore, for that question. We'll get on that. Thanks for asking. Any other final thoughts? Anyone?
I think that's
No,
good.
we
PlayStation
appreciate all the thoughts or
Oh.
all the questions rather. And all the fun thoughts that we get to express about, and I don't know, it's fun. I like these episodes in the sense that
Yeah.
it can be so random, and you never know where it's gonna take you. So I don't know. I like all the questions. They're really fun.
Yeah, and you guys seem to like it. Our first one did pretty well, so probably do some more.
Yeah, just remember you're not asking Call of Duty.
Right? Yeah, we're
Like,
not Treyarch.
So yeah, no,
Obviously.
we're not opening the Ascension map. We're not releasing a Kino cutscene. We're not. Yeah,
Yeah,
none of that.
but yeah,
We're not
but
releasing Chronicles 2.
Yeah,
Hey Vonderhaar, hey, sorry, did you get? Oh, sorry guys, I'm muted.
Honor.
Yeah, wrong Discord. Sorry.
Yeah, but
No.
my bad.
Yeah.
Take us out of here, Ed.
So you guys, well, hold on. You guys should subscribe also if you
Yeah.
I
I
was
never
like,
said those words
then you'd
before.
get a notification whenever you get a new episode. You don't you get it as soon as it comes out. So yeah, comment and like if you want. Do whatever.
Or
I don't
dislike.
care.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah,
Have fun with it.
hear your
All right.
opinions. All right.
Get
Peace,
the hell
everybody.
out of here.
Why are you still here?
Why are you still here?
Why are you still here?
Why are we still
The
here?
movie's over.
Oh my gosh, get out of here. Go live your life.
Well, I'm trying to fix Ascension.
Are you still
That's why I'm
listening?
still here.
Holy
Okay,
potatoes.
this sticks over.
Okay,
Bye.